Hello and welcome to Transformational Love. I'm your host, Saenz. And with me here is Lynne Sheridan. And I love Lynne. I met Lynne 7 years ago. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her first before I bring her on. I met Lynne 7 years ago. She rocked my world and changed my life. I do have to say that. She is our second guest from the World Works, beautiful company that is a transformational, it shifts you into love. And it shifts you into changing your mindset or opening your mindset. So Lynne speaks in so many different countries. She speaks in Russia, Asia, Chile. Oh gosh, so many more. And Lynne, I'm just going to bring you on right now because I'm really excited. You also, besides speaking in all these different countries about transformation and the beginning stages, not the beginning, it sounds terrible, the beginning stages, the first World Works transformational course, what is it called again? It's called the
Intro to Discovery.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I know that it changed a little bit. So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you.
It's such a joy.
And what would you like to? You're welcome. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited that I keep interrupting you. Would you like to share more about these beautiful trainings that you do in all these countries? I mean, they're pretty amazing. And then I was reading on your bio that you also do stuff with politicians and some other stuff. Would you like to share that? Because that's pretty cool.
It's crazy. Such a deep, diverse bio. I just really want to thank you for having me on and your generosity and the opportunity, and everybody who is tuning in and present, their openness and inquiry into this for their lives. And I'm very grateful. I have been training for 25 years, and I've trained at this point, I don't even know, tens of thousands of people, probably 30,000, something like that. And yes, I know, it's amazing. What's really amazing is my nephew is here right now, and he was shocked because we were talking about somebody from 17 years ago, and I could say about their life. I could tell details of their life. So it's not just the numbers of people, it's that I really hold each of the people with me. And I travel all over. I have the privilege of, right now I'm in Asia quite a bit, Hong Kong and Taipei and China, and I'm in Kuala Lumpur this year and the last few years. And I really love working with all different kinds of people. I'm passionate about my work, and it's taken lots of diverse tangents. And the main central part is, how do we live our best life? How do we be fulfilled, feel alive, be connected, have intimate, deep relationships, and produce what we want, not just go through the motions of our life, really have it matter and feel like our days matter.
Can we kick it off with how do we connect onto that beautiful, deeper relationship? We know it's a lot of work with ourselves, but also with a couple, with a partner, because that's one of your beautiful, I mean, you have so many beautiful things that you do, but that is something that I've known during my experience of knowing you for over 7 years, that is something that you love, that people's lives change around you, period. So would you share a little bit?
I began working with couples, and I really work with people. I find our lives are getting busier and busier. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes there's somebody in a couple that is the overachiever. They're out in the world, they're accomplishing, they're producing, they're always working, they love their job, but it's really challenging to keep a relationship up. I mean, I know this. I'm on the road. Mm-hmm. And my couples work started out of my own journey. I really think it started years and years ago because my parents were divorced when I was 4 years old. And then I ended up in a custody courts for 5 years. And I testified in the judges' chambers, and I was 8 years old. And
I remember that from my experience. So I feel you.
It was just intense, and I ended up living with my father and my stepmother. But I saw really firsthand what goes on when relationships split, especially if there are kids involved. And I think even then I was really certain. I used to say when I was a little girl, when I get married, it's going to be forever. It's not going to be. And, you know, and I told my husband when I met him, you're kind of screwed because you're just getting out of this. I don't have a back door. I mean, I don't even care if you go crazy. I'm still. So it came that, and then when I got into my marriage, my third year of marriage was just hellacious. And I remember being in an argument and hearing things come out of my mouth and thinking, wow, I've done profound work on myself, and I really work hard to be my best self and be open and loving, and I can't believe where we are. And so then I went back to school for marriage and family therapy. And I saw what was being done in therapy, and I was just horrified because I saw couples that needed more support urgently and quickly, not to go through session after session. And so I really wanted to do a hybrid and bring work come alive, bring great concepts and books, have them come alive in experiences so that people shifted at a gut level quickly. And so I work with all different kinds of couples. I do 1-day intensive with couples where they come and we dive in for 8 hours, and it's nourishing. We have break times and beautiful food and organic. And then I do 2 days intensives, and I do small group retreats and lots of different modalities and all different kinds of couples, including couples that have been married happily for 40, 50 years and just want more or life again or to be like kids. And then people that are in real distress that my heart goes out to. And I feel, you know, there's a bit of me in each couple that I work with, whether they're in anger issues or they just feel distant and disconnected. I really believe couples and being in an intimate partnership is our highest calling. Because it's easy to be at peace and sit on a mountaintop and send love and equanimity to everybody and open our hearts. But it's something to live day in, day out with somebody right there and have little miscommunications and breakdowns and all of our old hurts come up. And to be willing to go through that with another human being and hold it and heal them and heal yourself in the process. For me, that it's just beautiful. And it is
beautiful. You totally shifted my energy, as you always have with your beautiful voice and the energy that comes out of you and the words, because marriage is something that people have learned that it's something that we want for the rest of our life. But there is so much trouble with marriage per se in our culture. Other cultures can't divorce. So I love that you do this. I also love the fact that you wanted, most people, especially the ones that will be watching this, are of the spiritual realm. And so they don't want to take years and years and years. They understand what transformation, how fast it can work. So this is really beautiful that you've created this so that people can shift and change almost on a quantum level, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. It's really not just going through the motions or skill set. It's how do I brought this person to my life for a reason, and they brought me into their life for a reason. And to throw in the towel or to give up when it gets difficult, because it's easy to love people when they're a joy and a blessing, and it really is a challenge when they are getting under our skin and driving us crazy. So, and really, you know, all of what I've done and the studies is that we're going to repeat the wounds of our childhood. We will repeat them. And so we're going to do that with our partner. And most of the time, we're not equipped. Hollywood tells us, you know, we're going to come home and we're going to throw the dishes off the table and have sex on the table. And
yay!
Hollywood just gives us this idea that it's supposed to be happily ever after.
Yeah.
And it takes commitment. And it takes work. And especially if we want to grow our partner psychologically, spiritually, to be their best self and sand off any of the rough spots on the diamond of ourself.
I love that. I love that. Are there a few tips both on a relationship level and then on a personal, as a self-love teacher? People know I love to get into that, but can you give just like one or two on the relationship side and one or two on the interpersonal side? How to get to that stillness, that peace within? I know you're going to do some breath work with us, but is there some kind of another tool separate from the breath work that connects people that you love to share with that connects them to themselves and then also to their partner?
Absolutely. I think first, when we're in a relationship, it's recognizing that whatever's coming out. I tell my couples in one of my retreats, and they always laugh, and then they say it's so helpful later, that if we were sitting with a 2-year-old and we were just feeding them and we strapped them into their high chair and we were feeding them their meal, they, if their needs aren't being met, they're going to throw the food off the table, and they're going to throw the spoon, and they're going to throw the food in our face. And we can't sit down with the 2-year-old and logic them out of that. We can't say, you're really acting unreasonable here. You should really be more patient. And, I'll get to that in a minute. That is not going to satisfy the 2-year-old's yearnings, because they're looking for what is an attachment need. They're looking for a felt sense of being gotten in connection. And for me, in our interpersonal relationships, it's the same. They're just responding in that 2-year-old way with words. So instead of throwing their spoon or throwing food, they're lashing out. They're saying hurtful things. And for me, it's remembering, if that's occurring, it has absolutely nothing to do with the content of the conversation. It has nothing to do. So me talking logic to it isn't going to diffuse it at all. The only thing is love. The only thing that will pierce it is getting, at some level, this person feels so alone, so afraid, so not gotten. And so, it's almost like reaching your hand in the den of a lion. I've got to be willing to reach in towards them, even in the face of what's coming at me, from love, not my words, from like, listen, I don't know what's going on, but I want to get you here. So come here. Like, let's get to the other side of this. And that I think is like Joan of Arc for anyone in a relationship that has the courage to reach in at that moment. I just acknowledge them like crazy, because that just takes tremendous courage to reach in the moment of wanting every bone in our body to pull away from the person. And so for me, it's just reminding that, and then centering in myself is to connect with my own wounds, my own hurts from my past, and know that when I get afraid, I respond in ways that are not the best ways too. And so that this person is really, they're doing the best they can. If they had better, they would give it in that moment. They would absolutely be giving it. And they love me with all their heart. So of course they don't want to be hurting me. If they were in their right mind, none of us when we're in anger are in our right mind. As our emotions go up, the more heated we get, the more directly proportional our intelligence goes down. There's all kinds of studies on this. So when we're in an argument and we say, I just want to add one more thing, it's really stupid, whatever we're about to say.
Exactly.
So smart.
And nobody wants to hear it anyways.
No.
in that moment, right?
No, not at all. Yeah. So it really is, how do I breathe it out? How do I take a walk? If I'm really elevated, if I sometimes, if my husband and I have been in an argument and I'll say, anything else that's kind of come out of my mouth right now is not going to serve either one of us. It's going to hurt us. And so I don't want to. I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to take a break and I'll walk away. I'll walk out of the house. I'll take a breather. And then come back again, because I don't want ever any couple to argue in a way that is diminishing and taking them backwards. I want them to forward their relationship out of a upset.
And as they grow that emotional intelligence, they're going to be able to take that into every aspect of their life, and it becomes easier. It's that practice makes perfect thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
beautiful.
And I think, anybody will tell you, even, gurus and people who have had a lot of, it just takes tons and tons of practice. And I don't know that there ever is a perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It is really, how do we be perfect in that best moment of
Right.
our best self in there.
Right. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Thank you. I know that you want to share breath work and connectedness. Would you like to do that now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do deep diaphragmatic breath work that a lot of times people, and it's more than just breath work. It's a way to stop the chatter, and it heals us physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It heals on so many different levels. And a breathwork session that is done is typically over an hour. It's an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. It's a long time. And people, when they initially start the breath, they think, gosh, I can't do this. It's going to be so long. And then we enter into what is like a trance state. And the same, if you take the brain and you put it under an MRI and you look at the different areas where it's lit, the same areas are lit that light up for LSD, which I find really interesting. So what we enter is a natural, not induced through a drug, but a natural state of transcendence. And then what I really love is that I can't control it. And no one can control a session. I can't say, oh, this session is going to be intellectual, or this is going to be an emotional release. So sometimes people will have profound healing emotionally, or they'll remember sexual abuse or rape, and they'll release that. And sometimes it'll be an intellectual session where patterns will be laid out before us, patterns in our life that we have enacted a negative repetition over and over, but it'll be presented in a very objective way. So there's not a lot of charge to it. Or you'll have insight. There will be a presentation of, oh, that's the root of when that began, when a pattern began in our life. Or, and my favorite, which is the first time that I did breath work that got me so excited and connected to it, was sometimes people have an experience of being one with God, one with the universe, and traveling in the cosmos. And
that's beautiful. These are meditational processes, more or less. It takes us. That's why our brain lights up and all that. Yeah.
And it definitely requires assistance. It's not just something to do on our own. We can do practice and limitation. And I have apprentices now that I work with in this that do limited practice, because we can go away. We can slip away. People slip into suspended breath and things like this. And so, and then the work that I do also uses the use of touch. We all know from the Bible and many other teachings, religious teachings and spiritual teachings, that we all have the power to heal through our hands and through touch. And so combining the breath with touch on certain areas, and the body calls to an area, so I can feel where there's a held energy, or where there's scar tissue that has been unreleased, or trauma, and then we hold, and the breath will release, so much so that there are people that if they've had surgeries, we can smell anesthesia coming off the body, because the body has still held the anesthesia. Or we can smell if somebody had addiction in their past, a release of a certain drug that they took. It really, it's miraculous, our own power to heal ourselves.
Yes, it's beautiful. And I love what you're sharing, because the audience here, unless you're watching this on YouTube and find it, which I'm sure you will, in addition, but the audience here is very spiritual, and we're used to practices, and we're used to this type of stuff. So this is beautiful. I love how you take it even further. Do you work with people on Skype besides in person? I know you can't be touching them, laying hands, but do you work with people on Skype individually, or in a group, or how do you?
I haven't done the breath work on Skype thus far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we could. There's a little hesitancy in terms of the depth of the place I would want to take it, but
Mm-hmm.
yes, and there's a practice, and people can travel, and there are intensives that are done, and beginning the breath work and doing just centering, absolutely stuff like that, and trial sessions. But really, where I've seen the breath work can go, I would never want to be so reckless, like because I've had people really reenact a rape, and I've had people who have been in a trance state and were in the war and began walking, and and I'm not gonna do that when somebody's on,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
I definitely want to support. And there's lots of different kinds of breath, because I know lots of different kinds of that. There's a 4-square breath that I can just give people today. That is such a gift. And a 4-square is a simple breath. It is envisioning a box. And so it's into the count of 4 and a slower 4 if we can do it. And then we hold to the count of 4 and then out count of 4 and hold count of 4. So, and usually the trickiest part for people is the holding after the last one, when they have no breath in them. That takes building, but this is the breath that Russia's special forces use, snipers, Green Berets. It is a breath that centers us immediately and gets our focus up, our insight up, and our parasympathetic nervous system down. And so, want to do that for
please? I'm ready.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's everybody. Okay, so I'm just going to use my fingers so that we got a count. Then I don't have to do an auditory. We'll just do the fingers if that works. Is that okay?
So it's breathing in, holding, releasing, and then not breathing again?
And holding, yeah. So we'll go in, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold.
Okay, perfect.
3,
awesome.
4. Okay. Here we go. And you can close your eyes, people. If you want, I'll attempt to count at the same time. I'm used to this. Okay. So in, and everybody, we could just, you could be nose or mouth on this breath. Okay. So in, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. In. 3, 4. Out. Or hold. Out. 3, 4. Hold. 3, 4. In. One more set. 2, 3, 4. Hold. Out. Hold. Okay.
Awesome. I love that because I do breath work every day. So I love it. Yeah.
How does it feel?
That was beautiful. I loved it. That was different with the holding, even afterwards. I've done it, but not the way, and I love this. That's beautiful. Yeah, it really is.
There's something in the space there, the expansive space that's not yet filled.
It feels like we're removing fear. Literally, we come to a different plane there where there's no fear. There's just nothing but stillness. Because most people, they get really scared and they jump into because they're not used to holding or not, holding that space of emptiness.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And once the breath work goes for a while, the expansiveness of the lungs and how long we can go without oxygen is really amazing. When we start the breath work, much less. We could go without food we could go without water for lengths of time, but lengths of time we can go without oxygen is the smallest. It's essential,
Right, right. I love that. We need to talk later about the art of warrior meditation. That's my thing, where it's a constant meditation on breath stuff. So we'll talk about that later. I love that. This is beautiful, honey. So beautiful. What else would you like to share with us? We have a free gift from you, but we'll talk about that after. I know that I'm just so into the lull of how I feel that it's like, oh, I just went out of my head. Okay, so we talked about the couples retreat, about centering with the breath work. Were we going to talk about a big lesson?
A big way?
Either that or that was my guest before you, your friend, Lisa. Maybe that was from her, my notes from her.
I love working with anybody. I've worked with individuals as well who want to take it to a whole new level, from how do we holistically accomplish what we want, how do we experience our life at peace, how do we accomplish, because I have 3 careers and I have 2 kids and a husband, and I'm very, very busy, and I travel, and I love accomplishing what I accomplish and working with the people that I work with. But how do we not become a chicken with no head, running around crazy, and that we're centered in our life and we're in a genuine experience of our life of balance? And so for me, that is art, and it's finesseful, and it's gut level. Sometimes people say, well, how do you fit everything in? And it isn't time management. It really is, how do you relate within time? And how do I be fully present in this moment? And I love that. And I also love, in my couples work, working with particularly people that are really busy and successful entrepreneurs, and people who have a million balls in the air, that we don't lose that center, that we stay very grounded, very centered. And for me, I like to envision, I grew up on an American Indian reservation, and so I'm very, very rooted in that. I danced in powwows. I went to an all-Indian school. I was one of the few white kids that would dance in a powwow. And so I'm very rooted in Ojibwa, Chippewa, in that culture, and being grounded and rooted in Mother Earth, really having feet on the ground, laying on the ground, that we can feel our connection to Mother Earth, and at the same time, Father Sky, Great Spirit, that we have the open channel in our crown, that we can go up and things can move through us. They can come through the crown and go all the way through to the earth. And likewise, we can take up from the earth our groundedness and go and release it out.
Beautiful.
And so for me,
I love that
practice, how do I do that in my life consistently and moment to moment?
It's lovely that the thing that I've discovered about being a busy person, and what you just totally showed us, is there's a balance. It's not just, it is your centered balance. It's your core essence, but it's a practice, or almost a ritual that you do all the time, because you know that when you're in balance and you do the things that keep you centered with your family and present and work and everything else, then your life is smooth. And I want people to understand that the more you give to yourself in these ways, the smoother your life is going to be. Just think, you guys may be teaching in 5 or 6 different countries and hopping all over the world. Anything can be accomplished when we understand that there's techniques, there's support from people. It really is about love and transformation, isn't it? It's getting to the root of transforming us into a state of love.
Yeah, and for me, it really is the people that I work with. It isn't about me, and I have my bio, and I've traveled all these places, but it really is the people. And for me, that speaks to who I am and what I do, who they are, what they do in their life and lives. I have a couple that I think of that they they came to the couples work after 47 years of a happy marriage, facing retirement. And they challenged everybody. When they were in it, they challenged everybody to new levels, and now they're acting like teenagers. They're in love, and they have sex dates with each other, and they tell people, you can't call us during these time periods.
Yeah.
So I think about couples like that, and then couples that really never had tools. They never learned. They had abuse in their home, and then they repeated it, and then they didn't know how, and then they had shame and embarrassment about it, and didn't want to tell anybody, and that's just even more defeating. And then they, and now they are great parents, and they have tools, and they're centered, and they're connected, and I love that. I just love.
I do too.
I love all the stories of the people, and I get regular wedding invitations, as we can imagine. And I've performed numerous ceremonies of people that I've worked with, and likewise on births announcements. That for me, that's the reward. The reward is in that.
The reward is in the people that you touch.
Yep.
It's beautiful. The energy that moves around. I love it. You have a free gift for us. Would you like to share it?
I do. It is 7 secrets to deepening intimacy. And intimacy, sometimes our culture, I know American culture is very strange with the word intimacy. Sometimes we think intimacy is sexual intimacy. And that is only one aspect of intimacy. It's we're intimate right now. We are intimate with each other. We're sharing, we're caring about each other. And so this is not just in a romantic relationship. How do I deepen intimacy in my friendships? How do I deepen intimacy with my children, so that when they're in breakdown, they want to come over and tell me what happened at school today, and they're bummed. And, even everybody, animals, my 4 dogs at this point are going crazy. It's lunchtime. They're even my veterinarian commented about, like, wow, you have a really intimate relationship with your animals. Because
shouldn't we? I mean, they're in our homes, they're in our lives, we're in theirs.
They're family. And
exactly.
So it really is deepening intimacy with beings. How do we be available for intimacy? How do we activate intimacy? What are the secrets to practicing it and having it come alive, so that we can say, not, oh gosh, that was a nice holiday dinner, but really, wow, I felt connected, and we shared in a way that I never have, and people opened up about stuff they had never talked about, like that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And that can be found on, because this will be, I'm not quite sure about the editing process of this. We'll either have it at the end, but it will go out in the daily email. But for those of you who are watching it on YouTube later on, I'm going to have Lynne give you the site so you can sign in. Will you share your website with us?
Yes, I've got a couple. So in Lynne E. Sheridan, so LYNNEESHERIDAN at Mac or at .com, LynneSheridan.com. So 2 N's, 2 E's. I also have Inspire, and my Inspire coaching site is in process, but it's inspire2.be. And the Inspire trainings are also on the Breathwork site. And then I do corporate work for any of your people that are called to, how do we shift our corporate culture?
That's awesome.
We are in just delight right now, working with some executive coaching and working with leadership teams. And since we've worked with the teams, they have acquired and incubated, and they have almost tripled in size one of our places. And awesome. More than that, they're holding their care for each other and the genuine communication. So that's been just a delight. And that is Inspire Business Success. Inspire Business Success.
That's beautiful. Wonderful. I would like you to share with us one last thing from your heart that you want everybody to know.
Gosh. We are in a dance. We are in a dance in every moment. And every person who comes our way, every situation that comes our way is not separate from us. We called them to us for a purpose. They called us to them. We are all one energy, and we're not separate. And so there is no wrong situation. There is no mistake. There is no, why is this occurring? Frustration. There's no need for resistance. Everything is unfolding in perfect order.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing this beautiful, everything you do. You're one of the most beautiful people that I know, literally. You
Thank
are.
you so much.
You just melt mine and everybody's hearts. It's just lovely.
Thank
It's
you
phenomenal.
so much. I appreciate it. And I really love what you do and who you are, and you're creating this for people that they have new modalities and things that they can discover. I love who you are and that you're reaching as many people and the difference you are.
Thank you so much. That touches me deeply. Thank you.
You're a good example of the work and why you did the work.
Thank you. Woo. You guys don't know how touched I am. Okay, I totally am absorbing that. That's really beautiful. Thank you. So lovely. Wow.
You put it in action.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us. And we will see you in another Transformational Love Talk. I want to bring back both Lynne and Lisa together in the same room so they can be on the same camera, and we're going to do it again. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.